atmosphere is different. We seen them a few years ago, right? They nearly went down, to Auburn, but they have Brock Bowers, right? And he stepped up big for them. Now we know about the injuries Georgia's been dealing with. Taylor out for obviously the year. But your best thing if you're Georgia is your rushing attack, right? You have guys like a Chauncey Bowens who's been really good this year, and stepping up for you. You have guys you can lean on, in Josh McCreary, Nate Frazier and things like that. You have guys you can lean on in order to, kind of, beat this Auburn team. So for Georgia, I think it's establishing a run early. I think it's letting that lean into play action. And I think your quarterback's playing well. Another guy that's not talked about in the SEC enough is Gunnar Stockton. He's having a really, really awesome year. 6 touchdowns on the 1 pick, 1,000 yards, nearly 69% completion percentage. And he showed you against Tennessee, if you need your quarterback to score a lot of points, he can do that, right? With no problem. He can do that. And when you couple that with a pretty good rushing attack and Chauncey Bowens, who's leading you this year with 310 yards, and he's a nice compliment to Nate Frazier, who has 253, you feel good, and you don't have a sitting duck at quarterback, right? Gunnar Stockton is the third leading rusher on this team. You know what I'm saying? So he's been doing a really good job of helping them in that component as well, right? You can't just key in on those guys in the rushing attack because he can pull the ball in the RPO game and rush and get yards as well. Right, so that part's been massive. We haven't seen like that stellar game just yet from Zachariah Branch, right? We haven't seen, him kind of go off yet, but Kobe Young is obviously taking a step forward. We know about his struggles last year. London Humphreys has been a nice addition from Vanderbilt and obviously the portal. But definitely the weapons are a lot better this year if you're Georgia. Dealt with some injuries, like I said. No Taylor. Obviously, Ethan Barbour is another one that you ended up losing. But your offensive line, I want to give credit to that for Georgia in this game. You got some young guys starting, the Dontrell Glovers, right? You have guys like Bo Hughley, who's been waiting for his opportunity. You have guys like, I can't think of the boy name from Westlake. Juan Gaston coming in as true freshman and playing early for Georgia. So, that makes you feel good if you're a Georgia fan. Your defense has been pretty good this year, too. It's the secondary where you're concerned, right? Because you're so young. Yes, you brought back KJ Bolden. Yes, you got Dalen Everett, but you got guys like Elijah Robinson who, you're depending on to take that next step. So in that game, that is a little bit of a concern for me. Will their secondary be ready against the Auburn, obviously, passing attack? Now, it has not been elite for Auburn this year. They've struggled, right? Cam Coleman should have way better stats than he does, right? You brought in Eric Singleton Jr. You got a Malcolm Simmons. It's still not hitting on all cylinders if obviously you're Auburn. So that's the area that you clearly want to improve, if you're the Tigers. And you got to protect them. You know what I'm saying? You got to protect your guy. If you can't protect, Arnold, what do you think? What do you think he's going to give you? You know what I'm saying? What do you think he's going to give you? But a massive game for Auburn, because if you lose to Georgia, you're 0-3 in the SEC. Right? And even though you start the year off good, you won 3 consecutive games, you get the big win against Baylor, you have not beat your teams that you need to beat in the SEC. You've lost to Oklahoma. You've lost to Texas A&M, right? You have Georgia. Then you play Missouri, Then you have Arkansas, Kentucky, and Vandy. So really, the schedule after Georgia opens up if you're Auburn. So if you could pull off an upset, it looks good for you because, you do play a really good Missouri. But then from there, you play in the bottom barrel of the SEC. Arkansas, Kansas, Vandy's obviously a solid team, Mercer, and then obviously your rivalry with Alabama. So this was a pretty favorable schedule, for Auburn. But you got to handle business and win this kind of game if you want to be taken seriously, obviously, in the SEC. So it's going to be interesting to see, can the running game get established in this one? We know about Jeremiah Cobb. He's had a solid year. We know how good of a front Georgia has. Can you establish that, and can you get the air raid attack going? And the good thing is Arnold hasn't been turning over the ball, but you haven't been hitting on deep plays enough, right? Eric Singleton Jr. shouldn't just have 260 yards this season. Same with Cam Coleman, 255 yards receiving, only 17 catches. That ain't going to cut it. You got to find a way to get your playmakers the ball. And whether your offensive line is protected or not, quick screens, hitches, digs, out routes. Get them boys the ball, man, in space, and let them cook. You got playmakers all over the field. You just got to get them the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see in this one if they can protect them, if they can get the ball to the playmakers. And if you're Georgia, if they get them to the playmakers, can you wrap up and tackle? Can you not allow the explosive plays? massive game for both teams. I'm going to go Georgia on the road. Got the win in this one, 24-14 win over Auburn. I think the Bulldogs should be just fine. Should be able to make enough plays. Should be able to come out on top, beating the Tigers on the road. So I'm going with the Bulldogs. All right. Let's see the next one. All right, man. So if any of my Georgia Tech fans in here, I will preview this matchup real quick.